Hello, everybody, and welcome to the Coffee and Beans podcast. My name is Adesola Balogun, and I'm your host. On today's episode, we have a very interesting entrepreneur, a friend of mine that I've known for over 2 decades, an astute businessman, Mr. Tunji Adenuga. Tunji is the founder and managing director of Vesta Beverage Company, operating under the name Vesta Coffee. He's a serial entrepreneur who has been involved in several startup businesses over the years. He's a skilled performance and operations management professional, having spent the last decade managing deep water drilling operations with revenues in excess of $140 million per annum. Wow. He has 10 years of diverse experience in engineering, operations management, quality, health, safety and environment, and project management across Africa and Europe. He has worked for organizations such as Wilbros, Citibank, Litwin Engineering, and Transocean. He graduated with a BSc in Chemical Engineering from Unilag. He's a member of the Society of Petroleum Engineers. Welcome to the pod, TJ.
Thank you. Nice to be here.
Yes, you're welcome. My first question, when going to your profile is was starting a coffee shop or coffee brand ever in your plan when you were growing up? How did that come to be?
Thank you for the question. No, starting a coffee business was not in my plans when I was growing up. It's something that came to me over the years.
Okay.
My first real interaction with real coffee, real specialty coffee, was somewhere around 2006, 2007.
Okay.
Prior to then, we all know what we
used to drink.
I wouldn't mention any names here, not to make anybody look bad. But then, that wasn't real coffee. It was just some liquid we put together to keep us awake. So, had the real introduction to specialty coffee in around 2017, and was just taken aback at, the quality, the theater and the pizzazz around it.
Right.
And so it was part of my travels during the period. Got exposed to companies like Starbucks, like Costa, like Karibo, right. What you call these ones in the UK, Nest as well. So from that point in time, I was always looking forward to any time I was out of the country to have that experience, right? It was just something that kept recurring in mind, like, why don't we do this
in Nigeria?
Because I always felt that a lot of foreign brands come into the country, set up, and we haven't had the opportunity to export our own brands out of Nigeria,
right,
to the rest of Africa and the Western world. So I always had in the back of my mind that someday, when I was done with offshore drilling engineering, I was going to settle down in some sort of way into the coffee industry, but I wasn't sure in what form. It was going to be. So initially, we while I was working, I tried several businesses where was an investor or sat on the board as in an advisory role. And of course, it's as it happens in Nigeria, you have a lot of infant mortality for businesses.
For businesses, startups.
Yeah. So after I was 9.5 years in the oil and gas industry, I felt it was time to make a change, and I needed to make a decision either what industry I was going into. And my two major loves at that point in time was coffee, specialty coffee, and private equity.
Right.
Because I built a very rich and diverse network of HNIs in the industry that I could tap into. But I was more lured into the coffee industry because of that theater and pizzazz about it, and the fact that you could actually create value in terms of employment and also create a brand that you could export out of Nigeria and put Nigeria on the map. With private equity, you can't do much of that, and that was already an industry that was already rich with those kind of value propositions already in the area. So for coffee, by then I think there was only one coffee company that just started a year before.
Okay.
That was Cafe Neo.
Right.
I'm sure a few people know the story about it. So we just felt, all right, these guys are coming in to prove the concept. We are like a year behind them. Let's see how well they do. And I used to visit their stores to see what they were doing.
Just check and see.
Yeah. So that I felt they made a few mistakes, but the coffee was very good. And I thought we could improve on those mistakes and also look at the model of the more established brands across the world like Costa, Second Cup or Starbucks and sort of put a different vibe and improve on it, especially with soft seating and interior design and customer service. So that was just the default going into it. And we started and we're here today 5 years later.
Wow. A big congrats to you for that. I know, I mean, I'm a fan of Vesta. I'm a frequent customer of Vesta. And I just want to ask, what would you say? Okay, so my question is twofold. The first one is when you were starting, did you seek for a blueprint? More other like you said you went to those stores and just sat as a customer. Did you take it up a notch by seeking for like their blueprint in terms of operations, how they source their coffee, or how did you go about that? That's one. Then my second question is how are you so sure that specialty coffee business was going to thrive in a cosmopolitan place like Lagos? I mean, seeing that you had a company that started before yours, but they were just 1 year in. So it wasn't like they had done 5 years. They were just 1 year in. So they were pretty much also in the baby step stage.
Stages,
yes. So how are you so sure that if you had started Vesta Coffee, that would have it would have been a success? So back to my first question is, did you seek for a blueprint from those other specialty coffee shops that you were inspired by?
I think the time we live today in the world, we're blessed because information is is available at the tip of your fingers.
Yeah.
You just need a good internet connection and a workstation, a laptop or a desktop or whatever, and just know how to navigate around the internet, and that would point you in the right direction. Truth be told, when we wanted to start, the first thing we did was we myself and a friend that lived in the US, we wrote to Starbucks and we said, hey, can we get your franchise in Nigeria? Because we felt if we're going to really disrupt this market, let us start with
a
well-known brand and see if that brand power can pull Nigerians in, because it was a market that was seriously fragmented. What you could have was maybe very tiny bistros or small restaurants that served coffee or hotels. You didn't have any specialty business per se. It was the brand that I mentioned earlier that were really the ones that tried to do something. And so we felt, let us start that way, which was very naive, because we could have gone for a much smaller brand who would be more receptive to coming to West Africa, because at that point in time, in fact, Starbucks didn't have any location in Africa.
I don't do they still have a location in Africa?
No, I think they came to South Africa
yes,
recently, but I don't think the brand has done that well in South Africa. It started well, but it sort of slowed down because of the economic situation. And I don't believe in sub-Saharan Africa they have moved to any other country as at today. So so that didn't work out. Surprise, surprise. And so we decided, what else do we do? So we said, why don't we do this ourselves? So we started doing a lot of research, checking online. So I was traveling a lot at that period as well for work.
Okay.
So every time I had some spare time, I would sit in one of the brand name coffee shops and just watch the traffic, watch how the baristas work, and also started reading a lot of material on the industry. Some research work, that was case studies that were done by Harvard and other schools. And also, actually, I took a course at London School of Coffee.
Oh, okay.
How to start a coffee shop.
There's a London School of Coffee.
Yes.
Wow.
Yes.
How long for?
It was a short training. It was maybe a week.
Oh, okay.
It was just a very short training. So that helped a lot, because even though I'd read a lot about coffee and bought a lot of textbooks and read, that sort of opened my eyes a lot to some of the background work that goes on behind to actually run a coffee shop. It's okay to know how the system works, but you need to know the intricacies of how the nuts and the bolts and the wheels spin.
Right.
Yeah, so that was very helpful.
Did Starbucks ever respond to your message?
No, I guess they thought it was what did they call that name again? Nigerian uncle, whatever.
Okay. Nigerian Prince.
Nigerian Prince email. So they never responded. So we're hoping one day when they try to buy us, we'll remind them of that email. But let's wait for that. Yeah. Anyway, in 20, it took a while to put the concept together. I spoke to a few of my mentors at work about it. I was thinking about leaving to start this coffee business. I would say 90% of them thought I was crazy. This guy, you're insane. You have a great job. You're doing well. You're one of the most revered rig managers in Nigeria. So why would you throw all that away to go and start a coffee? Who drinks coffee? No, nobody drinks coffee. It's hot. We have Nescafe. So what is this about? So at some point, I thought there was going to be a family intervention. Maybe my wife was going to call my parents and say, please, let's have a prayer session for him. We don't know what's going on. Maybe it's a midlife crisis. But I just felt, I believed in the dream, and I felt, we could do something different. And what I always felt is the last company I worked for was Transocean. And working in that company taught me that if you want to make a difference, you have to maintain a certain standard. And there's something that I've listened to from a lot of foreigners over the course of my work life that used to irk me. It was when people say the phrase TIN, which is this is Nigeria.
This is Nigeria, yeah.
Or say Nigerian standard. And that used to really annoy me. So I always felt anything I wanted to do, it had to be at the same standard anywhere in the world.
Globally.
So if you walk into any Vesta coffee shop, you could be anywhere else in the world. Or the only time you would know you are in Lagos, Nigeria, was when you walked outside and saw the environment. So that is what we wanted to create. So tried to talk to a few people to invest in us. Got a lot of support from some of my mentors, two especially of them, three of them actually, who were the early investors.
Right.
And then we had some meetings, proposed to other investors. They came on board. And then we launched on the 4th of May, 2017.
So moving to my second question, were you sure that it was, did you see Vesta, how many branches do you have now? 4? 3?
Right now we have 6 store-owned branches, and we have 2 that we have a partnership with Sterling Bank.
Cafe One.
So 8 in total.
In Lagos?
In Lagos, actually, on the island.
I'm going to come to that. But how were you so sure that 5 years down the line, this experience was going to be it? I know that you always tease that it's not, but for a company that, if a company is successful, you are opening branches, therefore people are drinking coffee. So how are you so sure, that if I started this thing, did you have, was it just sheer doggedness? Did an angel whisper to you and tell you, just start, this would work? But what gave you that confidence that even when the pioneers had sort of missed it, you've exceeded what the pioneers have done? How are you so sure that it was going to work?
Well, I don't know about the angel part. I haven't had the experience of angels whispering to me. But,
or a burning bush.
Yeah, or a burning bush anyway. I haven't seen it. Any bush burning is actually burning. So I think over the years, because I've gone through a lot of business training and management training, even in my private sector career, what I've come to understand is one major reason why businesses fail, the top reason, it's not because the business is a terrible business. It might just be because the business is too early. The idea is too early.
It's ahead of its time.
Yeah, you think of Facebook. You had MySpace, which was, a good idea, a similar idea, but it was too early for its time before Facebook came in. And also, it could be a case of the first is not always likely the best. The iPhone was not the first smartphone, but it's the best today that has the lion's share of the market.
Of the market, yeah.
Facebook was not the first
social media platform. Yeah.
You just have to do it right. I mean, there are cases where the first have also been the best because they always continued to...
And they kept evolving.
Yeah, they were always nimble and kept evolving with the times. So even though there was somebody that was ahead of us, we did not look at them because they were not our competition in our own idea, in our own heads. Our competition was ourselves. How far did we want to take this and how far did we want to go? And it's also important that in business, in the kind of market segment you're in, it's always better to be in a niche market that is growing rather being in a huge market that is shrinking. So if you're in a niche market, you get the lion's share of the business, and that market continues to grow year on year, then you're going to, you have a lot of mileage and a lot of runway to run with.
Nice.
So you can be in a huge market that is big, but it's shrinking every year and then it disappears. Think of the photograph business with the film. Film industry. Huge business at some point, but started shrinking over time. Think of the smartphone market. BlackBerry, when they had the QT key, huge market. Almost everybody had the BlackBerry. But BlackBerry
shrunk.
They never evolved. The company never evolved, and they were here today. Same thing with Nokia, never evolved on time, and had to sell their hardware business to Microsoft. So there are a lot of examples out there that I could always point you in the right direction.
Right.
Of course, it's easier said than done. Nigeria is a different
market entirely.
Kettle of fish.
Exactly.
I mean, we always joke that doing business in Nigeria is like jumping out of a plane, trying to jump out of the parachute, skydiving, but without the parachute. Yeah, so just pray you land in the right place.
Okay, so where do you source your coffee from? I mean, where do you source your coffee? Raw, which is pretty much like the raw material, all that.
So in our research when we were starting, the Nigeria had the burgeoning coffee industry in somewhere around 56, 58, just before we found oil.
Okay.
The data that we saw showed that we're doing about 6,000 tons per annum then.
Okay.
But just after we found oil, we just sort of abandoned it to some point that some of the farmers, because it's mostly grown around the mountainous regions of the Mambila Plateau that spreads across Plateau, Adamawa, Taraba states.
Okay. That's the middle belt of Nigeria.
Yeah, and some other regions there. But because the farming practices and the processing practices are not, international standards, the quality is not at the same level. Okay. We still do produce coffee. I mean, a lot of it, Arabica coffee in Nigeria. But we have mostly foreigners that come in to buy it, and we have some locals that also buy the same coffee.
Okay.
But what we do is we blend our coffee at the moment. So we just aggregate coffee from different regions. We go to South America, to parts of Africa, Kenya, Ethiopia, even in some cases Nigeria, and blend the beans to give us a unique flavor, unique. We won't call it flavor, unique characteristics of the coffee, the boldness, the aroma, the body, and that's one of our competitive advantages. So, like Coke, we will not tell you what the mixture is.
I was going to say that without revealing so much of your trade secrets. What country do you think grows the best coffee? In your opinion, I heard it's Brazil though, but
no, Brazil is the biggest producer. They produce about 40% of the world's coffee.
Wow.
A lot of it is mechanized, which sort of, in the process of harvesting, sort of hurts the cherries.
Okay.
So it's not the same quality with hand-picked coffee. Yeah. Right. But you do have some regions in Brazil that they still hand-pick coffee and you still have good quality. But from what I've tasted so far, and it depends on personal preference. Right. The Peabody from Kenya stands out for me. Some of the aroma, the taste. It comes in very fruity finish in the flavors. But some people would say Ethiopia. Some would tell you it's Indonesia, the Sumatra coffee. I've also cited Sumatra. I love Sumatra coffee, by the way, dark roasted Sumatra coffee. But I've come to sort of admire the Kenyan beans so far. But again, sometimes it can be the flavor of the day that you're in that you find just the right bean. So it's something that it's not stagnant. Right. Yeah, you just keep iterating.
Okay.
Yeah.
But let's circle back. Definitely, specialty coffee is an elitist industry. It's an elitist sector. So I would always want to ask, where in picking locations for your shops, what goes into what are the things that go to mind when picking locations for your shop? Now, you just said a few minutes ago that all your store locations are on the island. I remember I'd asked you a few years back that how come you don't have any on the Lagos mainland, because we also have people who can afford your coffee, and your coffee is not cheap, afford your coffee in Lagos mainland. So what informed decision to locate your coffee shops on the Lagos, on the island part of Lagos? And are you thinking of branching out to other states and other countries?
So just to change the narrative, coffee is not expensive. So
okay,
you can say it's not cheap, but it's not expensive. So
it's not cheap.
Again, it comes to the point that always think of value,
right?
Not of price. You can get a 2,000 naira T-shirt, and after 2 washes, it looks like you picked it out of a dustbin, and you can get a 5,000 naira T-shirt that a year later it still looks great. So we always think in terms of value, not on cost. I don't believe we're an elitist brand. I think we are more of a brand for the middle class to upper class, and for the young, upwardly mobile professional or individual. Because most of our stores, you have a lot of the gig economy or the tech ecosystem working out of there. So we cannot describe that as elitist. So one of the reasons why we started out on the island is we wanted the biggest catchment area first, and that was our first location.
Yeah. In the one in Victoria Island.
The one in Victoria Island in Ojolobo. And then subsequently, the rest have just been by chance, apart from the one in Ikoyi. That one was deliberate as well. Opportunity came up, and then we decided to.
You have 2 in Ikoyi?
We have 2 in Ikoyi.
2 in Ikoyi,
yeah. One in the one at Rising Sun building, and one at Nakinos Boulevard, opposite St. Saviour's School. And then we have one in Lekki, an Orbit center. And then 2 in Victoria Island, one at Ojolobo, like we talked about, and the other at the Pan-African Center as well. So some of it has been by chance. The rest has been by design. Maryland, I said Maryland. Mainland, we're more deliberate. We want to find the right location. We've been thinking of Surulere, Yaba,
Ikeja.
actually thinking seriously about Unilag, Unilag, thinking of GRA, Ikeja, Island. We have a lot on our mind, but we also have to understand that since we launched the business in 2017, the Nigerian economy has not been doing very well.
Yes.
So, and our business is in the cyclical segment of the industry, which means that it thrives when the economy is doing well. So I would actually say that our team has done remarkably well in the last 5 years, considering that it's been a very, very tough economic environment. Doing business in Lagos State is, you have to more or less operate like a gangster in some cases because of the double taxation, dealing with the local government, dealing with the numerous Lagos State agencies. Some of it are even created the night before that you don't know about, So the environment itself is not business friendly. And it's a real shame because it's private entrepreneur and private businesses that are the backbone of the economy.
Of the economy, yes.
So I don't think the government understands this. I don't think it's okay that you want to raise revenue, but you have to be clever about it.
Instead of being bullish.
Instead of being just being, how will I put it?
Roughshod over the...
Just give us, or we don't care what happens, But anyway, hopefully we'll get it right someday.
In furtherance to the question I asked, are you also looking at other states, Abuja?
Yes. Last year we had a lot of inquiries about franchising.
Okay.
But that's not something we want to do now because we want to concentrate more on building our brand and making the brand really strong. Yeah, and put the brand out there to be well known. We're making some progress in that, but we're not where we are yet.
Right.
So it's still premature to want to go into the franchise model. So we're going to set up outside Lagos State. It will be our own store, own location. So we're looking at Abuja, of course. We're looking at River State, Port Harcourt, especially. We're looking at Kano, Ibadan, Enugu. Those are and outside Nigeria as well. Looking at the West African states like Ghana, like Ivory Coast, like Senegal. Those are places that interest us because of the high mixture of diverse individuals that live in those countries, like expats who have this kind of lifestyle already, have inculcated into their lifestyle. And in those markets, especially in Ivory Coast and Senegal, it's still very fragmented. You don't have any specific brand that's, leading the pack.
Leading the pack, yes.
In Ghana, which I've, the last year I've spent a lot of time in, I did notice that there were two major brands, one South African and one from Canada, that has really established themselves on ground. So that would be so it's a much more developed coffee industry in Ghana compared to Nigeria. Yeah, so you have a bigger population, and that's because tourism does thrive a lot in Ghana. You remember the year of the return. That's where a lot of the expats went to. They were supposed to come to Nigeria, but of course the situation with insecurity is sort of stealing our shine in terms of entrepreneurship, which is a huge untapped market for Nigeria. So yes, we have local aspirations, we have regional aspirations, and we have international aspirations.
So there's something I wanted to inquire about. So on one hand, the economy as we know it isn't exactly fantastic, but and it's largely dependent. So the success, so to speak, of a sector like yours is dependent on how flourishing the economy is. But on one side, Vesta is opening a branch every other year. If you take, 8 locations in 5 years isn't bad. So how do you marry the two? I know that we've had that conversation off camera, off the mic, but I'm very curious to find out, like, in this kind of times, is the best thing not to just day your day, just maintain with what you get. What informed decision to be boisterous and bold at it and tell yourself, you know what, regardless of what's going on, we are still going to reach the untapped market by opening more branches. Like, what gives you that gusto, that confidence that regardless of what's going on in the economy, these branches, I feel that these branches will thrive when I do open them.
Okay, I have a friend that has this motto that or die not die. So you either decide to die with a flourish with a big bang, right? Yes, the economy has not been doing well.
Yeah.
From the very first day we launched, Nigeria just came out of the first recession.
Yes,
and then we sort of immediately slid back into the next recession, more or less, and the naira has been sliding ever since then.
Fact.
And a lot of our inputs are foreign, and we don't have access to the CBN or any window. We have to source from the black market. But in that being said, if you don't grow, you start to die. So you might have 1 or 2 branches, and you think you can consolidate with that. You don't have scale to command or to be able to negotiate lower prices with wholesale suppliers, or even to get a bit of traction from investors, and if you want to raise money for expansion. So what we did was, for the last 5 years, we haven't made any profit. We've been losing money year after year. But any cash flow we had, we just reinvested into opening more branches to try and grow the business. So more or less think like Amazon, right? Amazon just continued its growth trajectory, continued to push and push until it became more like the Amazon, just the everything store, where it's just this big behemoth that just owns the supply chain, and that's what we want to be, to own the space, the coffee space. So to do that, you can't think short term. You can't think, oh, I want to put in my money here and get it down 5 years down the line. You have to be here for the long run. And if along the way you end up in a major, finality where you don't make it, that's fine. But
it won't be said that you didn't try.
Yes, so that's why we push hard. Initially we said first 5 years we wanted to have 5 stores, but we were able to push to 8 stores.
8 stores, yeah.
And we've had amazing investors who have been very patient with us. It's not easy. It's not easy to invest your money somewhere and 5 years you've not received the time. What you're hearing, meeting after meetings, that you're losing money, this X, Y, Z. And, and a lot of it has to do with even government policies, government agencies, just making the business environment very unfriendly, and it's difficult to do things. But
True.
That being said, you still want to see something given back to the country itself. We're creating employment in any little way we can. Right? Pulling some guys off the streets. So even if it's by adding that value, we believe we've done something in the least we can to contribute to the country. So growth especially is essentially tailored towards, let's see how far we can push this. It's not a short-term vision. It's not something that is for the here and now. It's for
the long term,
made for 5 years down the line, 10 years down the line, not for now. So, and then when we are maybe the 50th store, the 100th store, then we can start talking about how to consolidate and all that.
So I want to ask: is this mindset of yours regarding your business and how dogged you are about it? Is this special? Is this special? Is it peculiar to you, or can, for that entrepreneur who's on that journey, and year in, year out, the numbers are not making, the figures are not making sense, do you tell him to keep pushing, or just try something else? Like, how do you? I mean, your background in finance obviously is helping with this mindset of yours.
No. I don't have too much background in finance. It was a short stint.
So,
more of an engineer. I trained as an engineer.
Engineer, of course. Yes.
But I did have a lot of training in accounting and reading balance sheets and whatever for non-finance professionals. So, of course, that is helpful, right? That's helpful. One of my favorite movies is, Batman and Bane. I think it's Batman Returns.
Batman Returns, yes.
Returns, yeah. Batman and Bane. I remember when he was in the well, and he was trying to get out.
And he had broken his back.
Yes. When he had the rope around him and was trying to jump, he always failed.
Mm-hmm.
But when he took the rope off, I knew that if he failed, he was going to die. That's when he was, the adrenaline push, made him get to what he desired. And that's the point with entrepreneurship. When there's something else to fall back to, you won't be all in. So when this is it, it's, what do you call it? Guts or glory.
Yeah, all or nothing.
All or nothing. Then you have to put everything in it and try and make it work. So maybe that's where the doggedness comes from, because again, like I said, when this idea came to mind and I wanted to do it, a lot of people thought it was a little bit insane. That why coffee? Why why do you think Nigeria is ripe for it? Because we were used to drinking 3-in-1 sachets and stuff like that. Why would anybody spend this amount of money on coffee? And I just felt the world is a global village today. People, a lot of Nigerians were at that point moving back to Nigeria and had this lifestyle. I, for one, knew that every time I was in Nigeria, it was a challenge for me when I maybe attended meetings and just wanted to grab a cup of coffee. I always had to go to hotels or had to go to restaurants I didn't want to go to. And the coffee wasn't any good. So I knew that there were other people like me who would want this kind of service, but were not getting it. So it was, for me, it was a no-brainer. It was something that I thought I would enjoy. And I always said to myself that, what is that one thing you would do that if you did not get paid for it, you would still be happy doing it? And it was always coffee.
What do you have to say to that person, to that entrepreneur who's starting out a new product and is not sure how the reception of Nigerians will be? Anybody can be confident starting a new product in a saturated environment where you are sure of the reception. But in an environment like ours where new is usually treated with a bit of skepticism. What do you tell that entrepreneur listening now that's about to start a new product, but is he's confident of that product? Like this is this product. I put my blood, sweat, and tears in it, but I don't know how the reception of this product will be like. What do you have to say to that person?
You have to be able to stay the course. You just have to be able to stay the course. I'll tell you a quick story. It took us about 9 months to do the renovation of our first store. We had planned it for 8 weeks, but we had a lot of problems with the contractor, and it just kept going on. And we went over budget, And initially, for the first few weeks, I was still working then, so I was just coming to site maybe now and again. So I had to actually go there full time and spend time with them, because some of the contractors, you ask them to do this and the wall is not straight, it's bendy, and they'll tell you, "You're manage it like that." I'm like, no, hell no. Pull it down, start again. So that took a long time. And we went over budget, maybe 50 or 60% of our budget, if not even 100% of our budget. So we spent a lot of money. We spent renovating that place.
At the time.
I don't want to mention the amount here, but it was in the millions, and not single digits, right? And first day we opened, I kid you not, first day we opened, we made 6,000 naira. And I was like, this will be a very expensive mistake.
Had you resigned then?
Yes.
Okay.
No, I actually didn't resign. It was how would I put it? I offered to leave.
To leave.
The company was even shutting down.
Oh,
so
okay.
Like,
okay.
Just pay me off and I'll go. And I didn't want to push for any maybe transfer or anything.
Transfer, right.
So first day 6,000, second day 3,000, third day maybe went to 12,000. I still remember those numbers because I couldn't sleep at night. After spending these millions, how do I explain this to the investors? How do I explain this to my wife, for I thought I was insane? And how do I explain this to myself on how I convinced myself to do this? But just kept believing that we could do it. And we just kept going day after day. And we started seeing very small improvements. It took months before we even saw something enough to give you confidence that, okay, maybe we're on to something. So for those few months, I mean, I used to dip back into my own savings, just to pay salaries,
operating
expenses to buy things. I used to take my car to go and buy diesel in the petrol station to pour myself into the gen or my security guy. I used to go to the market to buy things for them. It was a tough period. It's not. So if you believe in something, if you've done your research, not just you had a vision and you saw no. If you've done your research and you think this would be great, this would be a great business idea and it will work, you have to be dogged. Adoption takes time. But once you reach that, critical mass, you just keep flying.
You coast from
there.
I mean, you've said it. You've actually mentioned it. But what I would say, what are your greatest in the last 5 years? What would you say have been your greatest challenges in running a specialty coffee business?
Number one, human capital. Jesus Christ, Nigerian staff.
I know, I can relate.
You can relate, right?
Yeah.
We sort of have like events for entrepreneurs to say, hi, my name is TJ, and I also want to kill all my staff. And so it's a huge challenge.
A huge
challenge. Initially, when we started, our attrition rate was maybe in the 10-20%. But over time, as we started to grow and we didn't have the same presence, it's okay to have one store and you are there 24/7 and you can monitor everything. But then when you branch out, you can't be everywhere at the same time. You can't be two places at once. Then you start seeing the problem. Start seeing people who take work for granted. Maybe stores are meant to open at 7 a.m. Store is open by 7:30, and you ask them what's the problem, and they will tell you that I was waiting for a bus. You're not the only one that. Some people resume by 5 a.m. and they are there. So what's your problem? And it just goes on and on. You have the issues with pilfering. That's the biggest one. And initially, I thought it was a Nigerian problem until I was listening to a podcast on the American Small Business Society. And they actually said, they actually recommended that about 20% of your revenue should be allocated to pilfering. And I said, hell no. For a low-margin business, I mean, 20%, that's it, done. And a lot of businesses in Nigeria have been put out of business, not because they didn't have good sales, not because they didn't have a vast-based clientele. Low-margin business with high pilfering, you're out of business. We've had cases of staff having their own POS machines that would take payments from away from the company. And my challenge is why people don't think long-term. I mean, I was telling my guys that a lot of the organizations that you see today being led, C-suite organizations being led by people, some of them started on the ground floor. Yeah. I mean, the last CEO of Starbucks that just left, I've forgotten his name now, he came in as, I think, was he a barista or a roaster or something? And he rose all the way to CEO because, I mean, I'm a bit the founder of the CEO. I don't want to do this forever. I want to, when we get to a critical mass, I want to be able to step down for somebody that's been in business and understands it, to take over. but they never see the long term. I mean, the usual phrase that I joke with them with is not my papa business, so it doesn't concern me.
Yeah,
that
nonchalant.
And it's sad. It's sad because it doesn't help the country grow legacy businesses that go from generation to generation.
Yeah.
Where you have the likes of Coke or Nike that have been here over generations. How many Nigerian businesses can boast or been around for 100 years? Maybe just a handful. And the other is the business environment, the government. Government is a major inhibitor of business in this country. I mean, businesses are only thriving despite the government, not because of the government. So policies are put in place because most of the guys that put together these policies have never done a big deal of business in their life.
Yeah.
They've been in government forever, so they don't understand where the pain points are or anything. And maybe also the private sector representatives are not doing enough to talk to them, or maybe they're just not listening to them. But the business environment is harsh. I mean, you are your own local government. You are your own PHC, provide your own power.
Yeah.
You are your own Nigerian police, provide your own security. You do everything yourself, but you still pay taxes, still pay levies, still pay the local government, still pay some last part, whatever they call themselves these days. So
many.
It's
hard to count.
At the end of the day, when you are done, you ask, do I need a Lagos State ID card so I just know I work for Lagos State and it's not, I don't really do any business, but it's something that has to change. If it doesn't change in the short term, I mean, a lot of people are talking about the jackpot culture now. If they don't change, a lot of entrepreneurs will be frustrated and leave and go and apply their trade somewhere else where they think they'll be appreciated. So, I mean, those are the two major pain points we have. The rest, I think we can work around it. I actually don't even mind all the issues with power and whatever. It's something that you can find a solution to. But with human capital, the mindset of a lot of Nigerians and the government, it's something that we're still working to find a solution to.
I mean, which is why every time I hear you say you're opening a new branch, I'm like, you want to add the extra headache of your human capital. But like you said, it's more of the shared doggedness and working to produce critical mass. Thank you, Tunji, for spending time with us on the podcast. What would you say is like your parting shot for the entrepreneur out there just trying to make it in Nigeria, just trying to make sense of everything going on right now?
Don't give up. Ask for help. Look for other entrepreneurs around you that you can bounce ideas off. Look for someone in your industry that's done it before, that you can ask for advice, that can be like a mentor to you. And you're not alone. When you are going through all those problems, somebody else has walked that same road as you are walking now, and they passed through it and they survived. So you survive. Just keep going.
I was going to ask.
And by the way, sorry to cut you.
No problem.
A lot of people see successful entrepreneurs out there and they start saying, God do good for me. What's this popular saying? Small girl, big God, all these kind of things, up and down. And they don't look at the full story. Some of these guys have been grinding for the last decade or two. Like I was reading in the founders website, it was saying that an overnight success, someone that has been in business for 10 years. So someone that has been in for 2 years and is going through difficulty and is saying, I'm going to quit. I just in the honeymoon period. So you have to stay the course. I mean, it's brave, awfully brave to be an entrepreneur.
Yes, it is.
You have to be brave to the end. You can't be brave by half. So you have to be dogged and just keep going and know that it's a long-term play.
It's a long call. I mean, and that's why I host this podcast, to tell people that they are not alone, hearing stories of other entrepreneurs that are going through it, that have surmounted whatever challenges, and that those challenges are not peculiar to you or your business alone. I was going to ask, I don't know how I missed that. How do you feel about other smaller coffee company shops springing up now? Do you feel like someone that set the trail? Do you feel proud? Have any of them have come to meet you for tips and all of that? Do you see some sort of collaboration in the future? Or, yeah.
Yes. So sometimes we feel not pride, I would say, but we feel a sense of fulfillment.
Yeah.
That we've been able to do something that other people admire and want to be like. People have come to us for advice on starting coffee shops. People have even tried to steal our staff just to try to double their salary.
Typical. Very typical.
Just to start rather than train their own, and then at the end of the day, they find out that it's not that easy. But one thing I would advise people is when you see the duck on the pond at peace, that duck is paddling like crazy underneath. So don't think it's all rosy. You see a coffee shop, you all look to bazaars. Oh, I like this. I have these savings. I can raise more money. Let me go and start a coffee shop. Try and understand the industry you're in. Not everything that glitters is gold. Understand your industry. Understand what you can try. Because if you just go in it because you want to be like the Joneses, when you hit the rough patch, then you will quit because it wasn't a passion. It was just something you wanted to do or something you felt I want to own, And I think there's a lot of opportunity for collaboration, and that's something we don't do it very well.
Very
in
much,
Nigeria.
yes. In this space, yes.
Where you could consolidate. You have 5-6 coffee shops. The founders could come together and say, you know what, we have opportunity for synergy here.
Yeah.
You are good with strategy. You are good with the product. You are good with marketing. Let's come together, create one brand, and let's win this. Let's beat the world. Let's take Nigeria on the map. But because we're not very good at it, and because we see ourselves as competition rather than collaborators, that's why we've not been able to consolidate as much. But I think the Nigerian coffee industry will grow.
Yeah.
I think with the current focus away from oil, I think we'll get there. And I think one day, I'm hoping it's Vesta Coffee, we'll find a Nigerian coffee brand in at least 15 countries in Africa, and in at least 5 of the OECD countries across the world.
Do you think the rise in more of those kind of specialty coffee shops will help the local coffee industry, or do you think there will still be that dependence on coffee from other countries?
I think it will help the local coffee industry. I think there's been a lot of focus on the back end now. There's a backward integration now. Not for us right now, but I've seen 1 or 2 other coffee brands who have been pushing.
Right.
There's a coffee business in Ilupeju, a very good friend of ours. We love them. We collaborate with them a lot.
Okay.
They are on the production side where they roast coffee.
Okay.
The fabulous people, and they have been doing a lot of work in that regard.
Right.
We also think one day we'll also do work in that regard as well. So we think that the opportunity is there. We think there's encouragement for the farmers. But what is limiting us today is insecurity, because I've always wanted to visit Taraba and Adama, all these places. But, in the last couple of years, I can't even convince my wife that I want to take a trip there. So just, sign your will and you can go off with, hasta la vista,
Thank you so much, Tunji. Thank you so much for spending time. I mean, for that, for anybody that wants to reach you on social media, how do we reach you?
So just hit us up on Vesta Coffee NG on Instagram, Facebook, Twitter, and someone will respond to you. If you have ideas on coffee, you want to start a coffee shop, we are happy to advise you.
Yeah.
You can reach out to us and we'll let you know. As long as you don't poach our staff, we're fine.
Yes. Well, a few of our, if you're a follower of the pod, you know that a few of our episodes were sponsored by Vesta Coffee. So yeah, Vesta Coffee is a proud sponsor of the Coffee Beans Pod. Of course, find us on Instagram and Twitter at Coffee Beans Pod, COFFEBEANS POD. I have a day job. follow us on at Outspoken Clothiers, OUTSPOKN Clothiers. Send us a mail, yes, for questions, inquiries. You can send us a mail, coffeebeanspod@gmail.com. Till the next episode of the pod, drink coffee, stay inspired.